here with the costume designer stylist for the hit Netflix show Dear White People. And I'm very honored because she's also my sister. So it's really, really a joy to have her here to talk about her journey as a costume designer and hopefully give us some little tips and hints about how to dress in our summer whites or whatever color you choose, and ways to enhance those things that look good and hide those things that aren't so good. So Ceci, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really, really thrilled to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, awesome. So, you've had quite a journey.
Yeah.
To where you are now, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the show is for Emmy consideration, as is my sister. Yay!
Woo!
So that's a real feather. You know, in our caps, we can walk around saying, "Hey, guess what?" You know. How did you get started? What, was it one day all of a sudden you woke up and said, "Ooh, I think I want to be a designer," or was it something from when you were a child? Yeah, I know the story, but they don't know the story. Yeah.
The long story or the short story, or I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what parts to truncate because it's been since childhood. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you want from there and then just fast forward. Let me just start from there, and then I'll just we'll
zip sprinkle
through.
A taste.
Okay. Yeah. Well, how did I get started? I started having an interest from as a child making doll clothes. I mean, I think you certainly taught me how to make clothes out of socks and make gowns. And Cyddia was in fashion school, and she would have scraps of fabric, and my mother always sewed our clothes.
Oh, okay.
So there was always scraps around, and I'd scoop them up and cut a hole out in the neck, and that'd be a poncho, and put a ribbon around the sock for a belt or whatever. And then I started sewing by the time I was 4. And Tia Clara bought this little toy sewing machine called So Big for Christmas, and it was really great because it was metal, it was really heavy constructed, and I would set it up right next to my mother's sewing machine, and as the scraps come falling, I would go, "Oh, can I have this piece? Can I have this piece?" And then I remember I made my first outfit, first grade. I was a turquoise and white for myself. Turquoise and white polka dot culotte with a white tank top. I still remember like yesterday. I wish I still had it.
Oh my God! Did you ever take a picture in it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I did, but I have a picture in my mind. Okay. And so that's good enough.
We probably would have it buried in the archives.
Yep, and in first grade.
Yeah, first grade.
You're 6, but I started sewing when I was 4. Yeah. First day of school, that's your important outfit.
Yes.
I got down with the turquoise polka dot, and I made my clothes all throughout elementary school, and by the time I was in middle school and high school, I was making an outfit for myself every day. Okay. I did my homework, and then we had a room that was converted floor to ceiling, wall to wall, nothing but fabrics and patterns galore. And the weekend excursion was going downtown, getting fabrics and going to designers and getting their ends, which was, the fabric that they were done using for that season. Yeah. And so we always had fabric around, so I always was making things and making clothes for my friends, and had a side hustle all the time.
Okay, there you go. Side hustle,
right? Oh yeah. Always embroidering jeans. Yeah, exactly. So I always had something creative, and then Cyddia was definitely a huge influence. I don't even know if she knows this, but she's a great illustrator, fashion illustrator.
All right.
And I remember the combination she had, like it was a trio. I remember of designs, and she used olive green and blue, and I was like, oh my God, I mean, who thought about wearing olive? And I was in elementary school, but it just stuck with me to this day. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's just dope. Oh, and then
Okay.
She also did another one that was brown and lavender, and I was like, oh my God, that's so elegant. Oh,
it is.
Isn't that
brown
and lavender? I mean,
I love that.
And so I was always checking out
like a rich cocoa, like really
yes, it was. Oh my God, it was amazing. And in fact, it influenced one show on Sister that I designed for, and I used brown and pinks.
No, I didn't.
And
Oh,
I'm surprised.
I used browns and pinks, and I remember one of the photographers, the guy's cameraman.
Okay.
He was like, "Oh my God! By the way, I have to stop and tell you that brown and pink is amazing. It's like the combination." I was like, "Oh." But it was influenced by the combinations that Cyddia would do way back then. And I remember them as a kid. I was like in elementary school, but they were so impressive. And then my mother, she used to always wear, she's very elegant, and she used to wear these things called butte knits. And, and they were very textured, and she would wear these beautiful suits, and the buttons were very ornate. And I remember one that was burgundy and turquoise, and it had a little fleck of gold in it.
Yeah, that was a beautiful suit. I remember that.
Oh my God.
That was a gorgeous
and I
suit.
remember playing with the buttons. I mean, once again, I was a kid, but those are the things that influenced me, that stuck out.
Okay.
And then my father, who was very elegant,
Absolutely.
he used to take me downtown to this place called the California Tie Shop, and it was just this little hole in the wall alley.
Okay.
And it was just he and I, and he would say, "I'm gonna show you how to pick out a tie and pick out a shirt and what's elegant." And he would, and the tie shop, floor to ceiling, once again, wall to wall, just ties. And as a kid, I thought it was just massive. It was probably nothing, but.
But,
Right.
yeah.
But as a kid, I was
Kids,
like,
our perspective,
oh my
right,
God.
yeah.
And so he would pick out, he's like, "Look at this paisley. And he would show me, he's like, see the black and the gold and the white. Elegant, it's beautiful, beautiful." That's how I talk.
That's my dad.
Beautiful. See how he said, "This one, no, that's crap. No. This one, no. But this one, look at it, look and feel it." And to this day, honey, I am a tie connoisseur.
Really?
Trust and believe.
Wow.
Oh my God. I've been known to spend hours looking for the exact, right, perfect, most amazing, elegant tie.
Really?
I can do
Well,
that.
I can tell you for sure when she would buy ties for my dad, who, as she said, my dad had amazing taste. Yeah. But the ties that she would choose for him were exquisite. And when vests were coming back in, she chose the combinations, and then with the jacket, it would be like, oh, good Lord. I mean, amazing.
That was all from,
Yeah.
that was the foundation with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
childhood.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I went to UC Berkeley, totally abandoned
Okay.
everything that had to do with fashion, because, you thought, okay, the thing to do is to go to college, get a degree. So I double majored in economics and social welfare, made a internship program for myself before I graduated at Xerox, and was there for 2 years. I was a top salesperson, but was on the verge of feeling very suicidal.
Oh, okay.
And that's because I wasn't expressing my art.
Yes.
I mean, I just never, when I took the job, I knew I wasn't going to climb the corporate ladder. That wasn't really me. That wasn't what I wanted to do.
Right.
Okay.
So at the verge of losing it, I just quit my job on a Friday.
Okay.
Sold everything, gave away everything in my apartment, put this rocking chair on.
Great rocking chair.
On top this hand bent willow rocking chair on top of my Toyota Tercel, and came home.
Okay.
Then I enrolled in the Fashion Institute downtown, and they have tracked programs where you're either going to be a designer or illustrator or a buyer or whatever. And I thought, well, I already have 2 degrees. I'm eligible for the 9-month certificate program, but that's still a track where you're in advertising or whatever. And I was like, no, I don't think so. You work for me, I am paying you, and I will take the classes that I want to take. So, I took an assorted amount of classes, and during that time I was also a part of a networking organization called BRE, the Black Radio Exclusive.
Okay.
And every year they had a fashion show or some sort of a main event for their conference. This year was a fashion show, so they said anybody in this group is welcome to participate. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my 20s, I'm gonna get in where I fit in. So I went home and I was like, I'm gonna design some stuff. So I designed 7 gowns and put them in the show. The next morning I get this frantic phone call from a photographer saying, bring all your stuff. And I was like, stuff? What are you talking about? Everything from yesterday, the show, whatever's in your closet, just bring everything. And I was like, what? Okay. So I go scrambling everything together, go down to the studio. And it turns out there was a commercial for Mountain Dew being done, and the principals were Janet Jackson and DeBarge.
Oh.
And so
Did you dress them?
I dressed them, and they were looking great. Everybody was loving my stuff. I ended up doing some more things for Bunny. But during the pivotal moment was when I was just kind of doing, styling them and whatever. And the art director said, "Oh my God, you are the most amazing stylist ever. You are so good. Oh my God." And I was like, "Oh God, thank you." Thank you. Oh my God, yeah, thank you.
Humble.
So
Yes.
exactly. So he walked away, and I whispered in the photographer's ear. I was like, "What's a stylist?" I had no clue as to what a stylist is, and of course that sounds ridiculous now because stylists are, they're celebrities in and of themselves now, and everybody has a stylist. Everybody's looking for a stylist, but back then, they weren't as prominent. The internet was not everywhere. We didn't have Instagram and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Wait a minute, get the crap out of here! You can make a living doing this? What?" So the light bulb went on, and I was like, "This is like a piece of cake. I can do this naturally. I don't have to work hard at it. What?
Exactly.
And it's fun."
Uh-huh.
So from that, I went on to do print ads and commercials and videos and movies and television. It was where I ended up, because that was the groove that most suited
For yourself.
most suited my skills and the pace. They're all very different. And I just ended up loving television. And my first television show was A Different World. And how I ended up on that was a girlfriend who had been kind of doing some work on there. She said, "Ceci, Angie, who was a seamstress, she said they're looking for a costume designer." And I was like, "What? Really?" And I remember like a week or so before that, I was watching it, standing in my living room, and for some reason, I was looking at it, I was like, "I'm going to work on that show."
Speak it, girl.
And I said, "I'm going to work."
But
I didn't even know what I was doing. I just was standing there going, "I'm going to work on that show." And I didn't even really say what capacity, but it would have had to been in wardrobe because that's what I do, right? Yeah. Next thing I get the phone call, and Angie's like, "They're looking for somebody." I was like, "What?" And me and young, and you're kind of not, you're not really thinking, it's great to be young because you don't edit yourself. You don't think, "Oh, why would they choose me? I don't really have TV experience. I mean, I've done, commercials. I've done print. I've done this, but TV." So I went ahead and I put my book together, and I interviewed with Debbie Allen, and the rest is history.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
And here we are now.
And here we are now.
That's amazing.
I love. Okay.
It's a great story. You've had some wonderful opportunities.
Yeah.
Now, this show is all about the full-figured community. And I know that you had an opportunity to dress. You've dressed all sizes, obviously. But you had an opportunity to dress on Living Single when you were working that show. Queen Latifah, Kim Coles were a little fuller of body. As well, when you, in juxtaposition to Kim Fields, who's a little teeny thing. Is there a difference in dressing larger frames versus smaller frames? Do you have a preference? Where do you go and find clothes to fit the full-figured body versus the small, or is it the same? A lot of questions.
There is a difference. Back then it was harder because there wasn't as much to choose from. And I don't necessarily have a preference. Who I enjoy dressing the most are people with the proper attitude. And I think, people say, "Oh, well, what's like you were going to ask me about dressing, do's and don'ts and wrongs and right and seasonal types of things." It may sound cliche, but I really feel that if people spent more time aligning themselves with who they are, and I approach everything obviously from a character standpoint. What's your character? You're the star of your own play, of your life.
Yes.
You're the star. Who are you? So who am I to tell you how to dress in your show? You're the show.
Right.
So if you feel that whatever it is that you want to wear is rocking your world, then wear that. Do that and be that. And so the people that I really enjoy dressing are the people who are enthusiastic about themselves. And, dressing Dana, Queen Latifah, and Kim, they were enthusiastic people.
Right.
So it wasn't this drudgery of like, "Oh my God, now I've got to look for a size size, 14, I said whatever it is, it was still the same level of challenge and excitement for everybody. It wasn't one way or the other.
Okay.
That's a great attitude, which is kind of, I've sort of lived my life along those lines. And it is important to be who you are, no matter what anybody says. Where do you get your inspiration? Because you have a very unique style and a very, focused eye, I think is probably the best way to describe it. That when you see your work, you know it's your work. And just as an FYI, Crystal happened to be watching Dear White People, and she didn't know that you were the designer for the show. And she commented, she says, all those clothes, that's Ceci's work. That's got to be Ceci. And when she asked, and I said, yeah, it is. She goes, I knew it. So that to me, I think that's an honor when you're recognized just by the style, and you can be pinpointed and they say, oh yeah, that's so-and-so's work. So,
but that should be everybody. I mean, I'm not unique. I'm only, unique because I have that job and I'm doing that particular thing at this stage of the game. But everybody should be able to be expressive in that way where if you walk out the door, they're like, oh yeah, that's your look. And the reason why people are constantly trying to find out, okay, get inspiration or where to shop or where to go, that's because they haven't taken time to find out who they are and to celebrate themselves. I mean, they're just totally out of sync and out of alignment. And then you end up on the hamster wheel of fashion, constantly chasing the latest and the greatest, what's in, what's out. But if you stop, just day to day, every morning, and just say, okay, let me appreciate who I am. Let me appreciate the good things about me. What do I love about myself? Maybe it's just this one little spot right here on my shoulder. I really love that little spot right there. Go, spot,
That's my spot.
That's my spot. I love you. I'm gonna wear a little cutout right here, but it's about attitude. Like when I was at Berkeley, there was this woman, and I wonder if she's still around. Her name was Deborah Curligan, and she was full figured, and I just thought she was boss. She was just beautifully dressed all the time. She wasn't, a secretary, but her attitude was on point, honey. She was tall and statuesque and big bosoms, but she was fly every time I saw her. I mean, and it wasn't like her outfits were that particularly amazing. It was her attitude. I mean, she was like, she just was serving it every day. She was not caring about, oh, you don't like this or this is in style, that's not in style. And all the people that I admire just, on the street or friends or whatever, they all share that in common. They all have a really wonderful attitude. And when you present yourself with, I know I'm hot. What?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes, exactly, don't tell me nothing. I know I'm what?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, sometimes we'll look at people, and women, we do it all the time, and shame on us. But we will look at somebody crossing the street, and I don't know, she got that on, that's too tight or whatever. But guess what? She living her life, honey. She got her boo right there. She getting ready to go to the restaurant. She's having, she's having the time of her life. She's going through life expressing who she is.
Right. And she's happy.
And she's happy. So what? It's a little tight. Okay, whatever. She's happy. So get off of her. Have a seat and do you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would say to that, I used to work for the phone company, and many years ago, a coworker was getting ready to leave, and she pulled me to the side and she said, I just wanted to let you know, Tomia, I've always admired you. Not now, of course, this was years ago. I always admired you. I loved how you dressed, and she specifically said for a larger woman, and you always dressed nice, you carried yourself well, and yada yada. And back then I was kind of a shopaholic. Yes, I need help. No, but I need help. I'm all better. No, but really, I used to shop, and I was coordinated, and I did dress for my size, because that was one thing, because you were talking about your father. I was raised by my father, and he said one thing. He says, I remember distinctly one day, he said, you're a big girl. You can't go to the swap meet. You can't buy cheap clothes. You have to wear clothes of a certain quality, certain type of stitching, what have you, because it'll lay on you, hang on you a certain way.
Right.
And that always lived with me. And so then there was a time, but then I kind of got relaxed, and so I'm trying to get back to that place. So, are there any basic pieces that you would say that any woman in her wardrobe that she could put together?
Your father is absolutely 100% correct. Not just for somebody who was a bigger woman. Every woman should try their best to shop quality.
Yes.
And it's difficult now because we're living in an age of fast fashion and, you know, clothes are disposable. We're killing our planet with disposable clothes, by the way, as a side note. But try to get things that are well constructed and, you know, items with the dart, fabrics that are a little heavier, that the father said, falls on your body correctly. Get familiar with your dry cleaner because they'll have a tailor there. Have things tailored, have things taken in, shortened, longer, you know, whatever it is that you need for your particular body. And that's any size. And that really makes a difference. Even, another story, when I was in high school and later college, a friend of mine, I used to just admire her as well. Her name was Kim Fratches. Hi, Kim, if you're still out there. I don't even know if she knows. Kim used to be impeccable because her mother would shop for quality stuff. She used to always wear Izod Lacoste, you know, not the fake one from the swap meet, the real one from Saks. Exactly. She would always have her white shirts all like fabulous and tucked in, and a little blouse, little, you know, designer blouse. Her jeans were always pressed and nice, and because they were high quality. They weren't, you know, they didn't come from Casual Corner or whatever, you know, 9 West. So we're nothing wrong with that. If that's what you can do, that's what you can do. But she didn't have a lot, but when she had whatever she had, she always had her leather boots were leather. I mean, and they were high quality Italian leather. And when you see quality,
you recognize
it. You're like, you know, you just know that, okay, you working it.
Yes.
And then if you can't do head to toe quality, find a quality piece that's not so trendy, but something that's going to last you.
Yes.
You know, that you can always team it with some, you know, fad item.
Yes.
I don't even know if I answered the question, but that just felt like that was perfect.
No, that was perfect. No, absolutely perfect, because you were complimenting kind of what I said about the quality of clothing, and then I was just kind of on your father's side.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with ties, because I was raised by a father, I learned how to tie a tie. And when he passed away, I saved all his ties because at one time I was going to try to change to start wearing some ties, and I wished he had wore bow ties because he didn't wear bow ties. But I never
turned some of those ties into bow ties.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, but I never learned how to tie a bow tie. I only learned how to tie a regular tie.
You have a lot of them?
I think I just kept 3. I gave the rest of them to my dad's brothers.
Oh, okay.
You know, because I allowed them to take all his suits and things like that. Because he had really nice quality suits, quality ties, and things like that. So
Nice.
Well, that's good. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but a few years ago, you were involved in a horrific bus accident, which, you know, for us personally, we were all on tenterhooks because we heard about the accident. We knew you were on the bus, and we didn't know what was going on. You had to be flown to a hospital. You were injured, and had to wear a halo for, was it 9-10 months, something like that. So you were laid out, kind of out of the game. While you were laying there, did you ever think that you would never get back in the game? As you healed and started going, you know, making strides to sort of get back into your life again, what was going through your head? Were you working towards getting back into the industry, or did you say, okay, you know, I can't do this right now? Because Hollywood is a fickle mistress, you know, and sometimes, you know, the minute you're not present, you're forgotten. Right. Yeah. So how did you get yourself back? What was going on in your head? You know?
What was going on in my head, and did I ever think I was going to get back in the game? Prior to and I don't call it an accident, I call it a bus incident. People are like, well, what difference does it make? Words are everything.
This is true.
Words are everything. Right, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, I call it an incident because I don't believe that there's any accident. Everything happens when it happens for a reason. And when, you know, so that said, during the recovery time, which took probably about a couple of years actually, I learned a lot of spiritual lessons. I grew up, you know, with a spiritual base, but it just kind of took me to a different level, and I realized some things that were very important. And prior to that, people had asked me, because I just finished a show Half and Half. And people thought, and at that point, exactly. And I was like, okay, what's the next project? And so shortly after that was the bus incident. And I never thought that I wasn't going to get back to it, but I knew that it was important to get back to something that brought me joy. I realized how the imperative of joy in each person's life. When I was in the hospital, it was a teaching hospital at Lake Arrowhead, and every morning the doctor would come with a few students behind him, and he just, early in the morning, he'd barely say a word, kind of gruff, and I couldn't barely get a question out before he turned his back, and I was like, talking to his back.
Yeah, that's how it matters.
And, well, the thing about it is I felt so much compassion for him because he had no joy. He didn't have enough to even fake it for his students to pretend like, oh, this is a great career, and here I am, talking to the patient. Here, look how I do this.
Yeah.
He didn't really give a damn.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and when he left, I would just feel heavy, and sometimes I would just cry, not because for me, but for him. Oh my God, how horrible it is that you just are void of any kind of happiness in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's my impression of it. Maybe he was thrilled. I don't know. But the energy that I got from him was that.
Yeah.
And so when people asked me, I knew I was going to come back, but I had a list of things that would have to, check off all the boxes. And one of the main things was, was I going to be happy? Was this the people had to be fun, the actors had to be fun, the type of shopping had to be where I like to shop. I mean, Dear White People checked off all the boxes. I wasn't going to just come back and just do anything. I was going to come back with something that I'm going to be so doggone happy to wake up in the morning to do. Because I feel that that experience let me know that each of us are like quilts. We have our own little square.
I love that.
And we're all connected. And if we don't nurture our quilt, if we don't wash it, if we don't embellish it, if we don't take care of the frayed edges, if we are sour, if we're not in a good mood, if we are not projecting an energy of love and of happiness and joy and compassion and gratitude and all those things that people like to give lip service to nowadays, if we don't take that to heart, we're literally fraying our edges. We're tearing a hole in our quilt. Have you ever seen a quilt with a hole in it? It's not very attractive.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And then if I'm connected to you and I'm like fraying here, that our connection becomes more loose and tenuous. Exactly. Yes. And then now we're not one. Yeah. But we are all one and we are all connected. So so it's my personal responsibility as a human and as a citizen to be joyful. And everything that I do now, I turn down projects a lot of times because it's not checking off those boxes. I don't want to shop like that. I'm not interested in a this whatever it is that you're doing. Great project, but not for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Great people, but not necessarily for me.
I got you.
So yeah, I have to be happy about it. And when you think about it, everything, all the things that lead up to all the cooperative components that had to happen in order for me to have the job as a costume designer on Dear White People. I mean, Justin, the creator, had to have gone to school to have an interest in doing movies. He had to be influenced by other people. Lionsgate and Netflix had to say, yes, that's a great idea. Let's do a show. I mean, I had to have that background doing A Different World years ago because this is really like Dear White People's like Different World 2.0.
Exactly.
Yes,
right. So there's really nobody else that's more suited to do that particular show. I feel.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So when you think about that journey and you think about all the steps, how amazing it is, and you can't help but feel that gratitude and that joy because it's right. It's a good fit. It's in the pocket, and when it just kind of is evidence that you're in alignment.
And I love that a 2.0 kind of an upgrade. It's like full circle almost.
Right, exactly.
I love it.
Right.
Love it.
It's really really goes back to kind of what you were saying about, there are no such things as accidents. And my mantra is there's just no such things as coincidences. Everything happens for a reason.
Right.
Yes.
If you driving down the street and you make a left, something completely different is going to happen versus if you'd made the right, and it's very important, that we kind of think in those terms of, how we live our life.
Right.
Because there are no such thing as coincidences, and then every step that we take, brings forth something different in our lives.
Right.
So
I mean, even when I shop, I look for guidance. If it's, I need a white dress for your white party, I don't even get in the car until, or maybe sometimes I am in the car and I don't even start the engine, and I just wait for the guidance. Okay, where should I go? Should I go to this store? Should I go to that store? Should I go to this, place, that place? And I wait to get a impression about where I should go.
Okay.
And when I get there, I'm like, should I go left or should I go right? Where is it? And then my assistant, she's convinced that I'm magical because I
we know that. Yeah.
I mean, she's like, how do you do it every time? And I go and I say, thank you for my space. Thank you for my space. And I go and there's the perfect space with money at the meter all the time.
I love it.
I go and I'm looking for whatever it is that I'm looking for, and I have kind of an idea of what I'm looking for, and it magically appears wherever it is that I'm shopping. And that's kind of what I'm talking about in terms of joy and being in alignment. Once you know who you are, what your flavor is, what you like to wear, the universe sorts of lines things up for you and on your behalf. So in terms of where to shop, I mean, things will just be, you might not even be looking for a store, but you're at a girlfriend's house and you decide, oh, there's a construction over here. Not a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta go left, and you go left and like, oh my God, I never saw that store. That's amazing. Let me go in. And then you go and you're like, oh my God, there's the white dress. I mean, it's that kind of thing that happens to me all the time. All the time. And you just have to be open and expecting and ready for it and listen.
Because I had a friend literally tell me today, she's a full-figured bigger woman like I am, and she was thinking, but I need some tops for the summer, and it's really hard because the way she's shaped, she has a lower tummy, and so she wants she needs, most t-shirts come at the waist, she needs a longer t-shirt to kind of come past her tummy, right? And so she was like, I really want some shirts, but she doesn't really have the money because she had been looking online and things were expensive and money's limited right now.
Right.
So she was praying about it, and okay, Lord, I need this. So she was driving down the street, and it was kind of one of those left-right things like Cyddia was saying. And she just decided, okay, let me turn this way. And she saw the store Stylist. And so she decided, no, I'm not going to go in there. I'm not going to go shopping. And her spirit kept saying, go in. And she was like, no, I'm not going to go in there. And her spirit kept saying, go in.
Right.
And so then finally her spirit said, just go look. So she said she went and looked, and she said there was this rounder of t-shirts, and I think it said 3 for 10 or something like that. So she's wondering, how is that going to come out to that if this is it? So she said she perfectly just for her. There was 5 shirts in the size 5X for her.
See?
And she was just like, okay. And so she said one had a little piece of tape on it, maybe where a little hole was, and then one had maybe a little spot on it or whatever. So she decided to go inside, and she's telling the cashier, and the cashier had the manager come over, and she was showing all little stuff, and this is what it, and she even told her, and I prayed about it, and these 5 shirts were here for me, so I know they're for me, but, the woman said, give it to her for $1.99 each.
Oh, there you go.
So she was getting 5 t-shirts.
There you go.
For $10, and she had her summer wear in her size.
Wow.
So just like you're saying, the looking and listening and
and relaxing, and just kind of relaxing into yourself, and knowing that the universe is working on your behalf, singularly on your behalf.
Yes.
And not be so uptight about, oh, am I wearing the right thing? Is the right color? Is it in style? Is it the trend? And who's looking at me? And who cares? Who really cares? Like award shows, you would think, oh, I'm in the entertainment industry. You would think that I would love watching them. I can't stand watching like the pre-show. What are you wearing? How about my dress?
Yeah.
It's my dress. Morgan Freeman, I remember one time, he says, oh, what are you wearing? He says, a tuxedo. It's like, whose is it? Mine. Where'd you get it from? My closet.
Yeah.
I mean, how about let's talk more about what did you feel about that role, or was this a role of a lifetime, and how was that different from the other role? I mean, they're just not talking about anything of substance, and I get it. Everybody's got to sell their necklace and their suit and their whatever. Right. But it gets to be so cliche, and
After a while, it's boring.
Exhausting. Exactly. It's boring. It's like, okay. And then most of these celebrities are not paying for it anyway. So then you've got people looking, going, oh, I can only wish that I can get a dress like that. And, and then feeling bad about themselves. I can never wear a dress like that.
Or you have an occasion to wear a dress like that.
Or have an occasion to wear a dress like that. Exactly.
I actually find myself looking at most of the dresses and going, really? You chose that? I mean, unfortunately, I find that there are many of the stars that they're wearing somebody else because either their stylist says you've got to wear so and so, blah blah blah, but they're not necessarily always that fabulous. But
I'm not even to the point where I criticize like Joan Rivers. Rest in peace, Joan. Yeah. Used to make her living, criticizing. And, I get that also. Lots of shows still do that. The best and the worst list. You get all of that. But if they put it on and they thought they were looking great, then who are you to say, oh my God, on that neckline? Oh. I mean, it's just, why do we want to bring people down that way? Yeah, maybe it wasn't particularly flattering or was ill-fitting or whatever, but I'm sure when they walked out the house, they didn't say, oh, you know what, I look crazy.
No,
oh my God, I'm going to go out and go to the award show looking hideous. No, they looked at themselves, they're like, oh, okay. So why, who are we to go around and,
like the worst
Monday morning quarterback and go, oh my God, that was just awful in that color. Oh.
Which that kind of brings me to, who inspires you, what inspires you, and then, we'd asked about the tips and hints and tricks, because unfortunately, ladies do this more so than men. Every year, just before summer comes, it's all about I've got to go to the gym, or I need to start walking, I'm going to starve myself because, I need to get myself in shape. So, we've been having a summer white party on Facebook. I started it in Hawaii wearing white. I was getting a tan and getting all gold, and I just thought it looked good. And I like white. So, we're having a summer party. Mm-hmm. As you can see, we're in white today. Well, no, because we wanted you to stand out. We wanted you to stand out. And be you. Yeah. So, what are the things that, are there tips, are there hints? How do, what do we wear? Especially, like I said, because, fuller figured women have a harder time sometimes trying to find things that are figure flattering. As you said, if we put it on and we like it and we love it, it's great. Doesn't necessarily mean that it fits. And I know that there has been a time when I used to say, just because they make it in your size doesn't really mean that you should wear it. But if it makes you happy, and you're working it, then, okay, do your thing. So, thoughts. What inspires you? Who inspires you?
Everything is inspiring to me. Nature is inspiring to me. Architecture, art, music, everything. I get inspired by everything because I move through life with a joie de vivre. Just everything. I get excited by looking at a flower or rocks or water or the sky or the stars or a building or a person or a shape. It's all very inspiring. Mm-hmm. I don't get inspired necessarily by fashion design. Necessarily, I notice it, I see it, and I'm like, oh, that's great. Some of it's really avant-garde, and I love the Japanese streetwear. I think it's very creative. I love that. So there's nothing that I don't get inspired from. And as far as tips, I think the biggest tip is for you to know who you are and really embrace that and be happy and proud of who you are and the parts that you love about yourself. If there's, everybody has what they consider to be a fault or the things that they don't really like as much or whatever, but then great, what are the things that you do like? Even if it's just one thing, celebrate that. Mm-hmm. Celebrate that. Like, some people love a collarbone. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, some people, like, I've known people like, oh, that collarbone is so sexy. Okay, well, wear a V-neck and show your collarbone. Mm-hmm. And forget about the rest and be like, oh, okay. I'm working my collarbone. Okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so you have to, we put so much pressure on ourselves focusing on the cons focus more on the pros,
I like that.
and you'll start gravitating towards things that you love. It's just like when you're designing a home. People are like, oh, how do you design your home? Well, if you're open to things that you love, and you buy it and you gravitate to it, all of a sudden you bring it home and it all this is kind of working together. Why? Because it's all an expression of you. If you start trying to replicate somebody else's home, it's never going to work because it's somebody else's home.
Exactly.
It wasn't supposed to be in
Yeah.
your house.
Yeah.
Right.
So the same thing with your closet. You will start, if you really know who you are and know who your character through your life is, then you're going to gravitate to the things that make you happy, the colors that make you happy, that look the best on you. You don't really need a colorist to tell you you're a fall, winter, summer, spring, or whatever all that stuff is.
Yeah.
No shade on the colorist, because everybody got to hustle, and if that's your
Right.
thing, okay, do all
it.
right.
Right.
But I'm just saying, I don't think that people really need that. You have eyes. You can look and say, that no, somehow that's washing me out, or somehow that's just not looking great. And if you really do need a colorist, then get a colorist. If that's what you really need to help you narrow, your focus of what looks good on you, because some people actually don't know.
No.
So, but I'm just saying, by and large, I think people are just afraid of themselves. They're afraid of acknowledging that it's okay that I like polka dots. It's okay if I like frilly whatever, and it's okay if you don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Some people
I
may
agree.
think I look crazy right now. I don't really care, because I'm feeling fabulous. I'm feeling
What
really
makes
great.
you rock and look fabulous?
My secret, you're talking about tips and tricks. I have one. I just have one.
Okay.
And my thing is props. When I put on my shades, I'm fabulous.
There
Alright,
you go.
you're
All right.
Fabulous. I feel fabulous.
I
feel
color
fab-
coordination.
Okay.
Oh,
Of the
absolutely.
color.
There you go.
Love, love,
See?
love.
And then
Perfect.
wait, when I want to take it up a notch,
All right.
oh please.
Even more so. Okay.
Wait,
Super hot.
bam,
Bling,
Super
bam,
hot.
bling.
Okay.
Exactly.
There you
All
go.
right, all
Now
right.
somebody else may look at me and say, you don't look any more fabulous than when you didn't have it on, but guess what? I really care.
Right.
Because I'm feeling amazing. I mean,
Right.
I can get, as soon as I get dressed, I think whatever I have on is pretty good.
Right.
But then when I put my glasses on, I'm like, I'm feeling myself. I'm
Right.
feeling myself.
Yes.
Everybody who knows
Yes.
me knows I wear sunglasses. I have a lot of sunglasses. I've got several. I have as many sunglasses as some people have shoes.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Wow.
yes, I know.
I know.
So you have
I
some people
know.
shoe collection. You have your
I have my
sunnies.
sunglasses because it's sunnies, because
Yeah.
that's my tip. That's for
Okay.
me. But that may not work for you.
Yeah.
And that may not work for you. You have to figure out what works. Accessories, like I'm a big accessory person. You can have on the most simplest of whatever. It could be a white t-shirt and some jeans, but then you put on someone like this.
Ooh.
There you go.
And then you're
Right.
like, okay,
Mm.
right? Don't you?
Yeah.
And then wait, and then you do one of these things. You're like,